So hi there. Welcome to the 23rd show on the Gutenberg Times YouTube channel. My name is Birgit Polly-Haag and I'm your host and the curator of Gutenberg Times. Thank you for watching. It's so great to have you all. We have a full house today. Thanks to an article at the WP Tavern, and thank you to Justin Tadlock. His article brought quite a few of you here. So today we will discuss block-based themes, full-site editing. If you're here for the how do I do my first plugin, that's on the other show. That's a post status. Let me introduce today's speaker. I'm extremely honored to have Karolina Niemark on the show. She is a team rep on the themes team, creator on the full-site of the full-site editing course, and a contributor to the 2020 theme. Good evening, Karolina. Thanks for joining us. How are you and where are you located?
Good evening. I'm very well, thank you. I am in Stockholm, Sweden. So I just want to tell you, we are all safe. There's no virus here. We are staying inside. We're also having a bit of a heat wave right now, but we'll manage.
Oh, good. Well, thank you for taking the time out to come here. And so the next up is, well, my notes. Kjell, I'm thrilled you're here. Kjell Riekstad is on the show, and he's the design director, one design director at Automattic, and a major contributor to the Gutenberg design and themes team as well. He is also heavily involved in the design and development of the 2019 theme together with Ellen Cole. Good afternoon, Kjell.
Hi.
How are you doing and where are you located?
I'm doing well. I'm located just outside of Boston, and it's a lovely sunny day here today.
Well, waving at Boston, it was a wonderful WordCamp. I have great memories to that last year. And it was a very hot day there as well, or 2 days, yeah. So you also prepared a short demo.
I did.
What will you show us later on?
Sure. So I'm going to show you how it's quite easy to start taking an existing theme that is not a block-based theme and start using that as the basis for experimenting with block-based theming. And it's pretty cool because you can leverage some of the styles that you've already built into your theme, and you can do the whole thing without touching a code editor.
Wow, that's amazing. So I'm very looking forward to that. Fabulous. So, and also with us is Eileen Violini. She is an active WordPress contributor on the core editor team. She's also a design engineer on Sidetrack Studio and has deep roots supporting plugins in the WordPress community. Good afternoon, Eileen. Thanks for joining. And where's home for you?
I am located outside of between Lancaster, Pennsylvania and Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
All right. Yeah. So we met at the WordCamp Lancaster in 2018. It's been it feels a long time, but it's only 2 years that we know each other. Yeah. It was great to meet you there. So thank you all for joining. I really can't tell you how excited I am, and I'm kind of really, I want to get also, before we head into the topics, I have a few housekeeping notes and an announcement. Mark Urain and I will record the next episode of the Gutenberg changelog on Monday, not today, on Monday, June 29th, and it will be published a couple of days after that. Mark is on vacation for a few days more. And if you haven't heard about it and haven't subscribed yet, you can find us on any popular podcast app. Search for Gutenberg changelog or go to the gutenbergtimes.com/podcast, and you have all the links there. We answer listener questions, and you can send them us via Twitter to @GutenbergTimes. The DMs are open, or via email to changelog@gutenbergtimes.com. So we have people here in the audience from on Zoom, but we also have people joining us on YouTube, I believe. And So if YouTube, you have the chat window on the right, and that's the place where you can put your questions in. For the Zoom people here, there is a Q&A on the bottom of the screen on the right-hand side, and you can put in your questions there. Think of it, two things. One is the sooner you come to a question mark in your question, the probability that I can ask a question fast is actually going up. For both of you, YouTube and Zoom, please be kind, even if you disagree. This is a family-friendly endeavor. So we have quite a few people here, and we might not get to all your questions. We will probably stay over that normally 1 hour show time to answer them, but if we won't be able to get to all of them, you will find we will answer them in writing and post them on the recap post for the show on the Gutenberg Times. So with the housekeeping stuff all out of the way, well, if you all see your chat window, just tell us where you're from, and yeah, we want to know who's there, and just kind of take your keyword and start typing. In the meantime, so I have the privilege and the advantage that I can do the first question. And then after the round robin from the first question, Kjell will show us his awesome demo. And by that time, I anticipate that we have already the first questions from the audience, and we can dive into that. So my question for you, Eileen, Carolina, and Kjell, being in the minutiae of the creation process, sometimes it's hard to see the big picture of what can this all become. But what are the two aspects of full site editing and or block-based themes that excite you the most, and why? Eileen, do you want to start?
Sure. So as a designer, I'm really excited about the potential to be able to create page solutions and how easy it's going to be for us to be able to do that right within the editor with the blocks and that we're already used to working with. And just from my experiments that I've seen with the theme parity, like flipping from one theme to the next theme is going to be such a huge benefit for theme maintainers moving forward. We're not going to need to mess around with shortcodes. All of the layout content is going to be available in the database where we expect it to. It's not going to end up someplace else. And so that's going to be a huge benefit to everybody. On a personal level, just participating in building this open source product and seeing how so many people from across the community are contributing has been really inspiring. And it's amazing to see it all come together, and the professionalism and dedication of everyone on the teams. And I work heavily in Core Editor. Everyone there is just fantastic. It's been an incredible experience for me.
Should I go next? Or?
Yeah, go for it.
Well, my thoughts have not been as long as Eileen's, so I'm going to keep it short. First of all, we have no option but to be excited about shiny new toys, because if we ignore it, someone else is going to be making all the decisions for us about team development. That is why it is important that we get involved and test and try out and bring new ideas. And I'm excited about the little things. For example, being able to place a copy block as an actual header. Everything like that, but also especially global styles, because they will make it easier to style our blocks, because that has been a big problem with the different changes to the markup on the blocks, for example. And that's all.
How do you, Kjell?
Cool. Yeah, so I'll do one from a theme author perspective and the other from a user perspective. And so as a theme author, I'm really excited because I think that full site editing is going to make theme development a whole lot simpler. If you take a look at the current documentation for it, just the templates are really, really simple and you can create them in Gutenberg. And I think we're going to end up needing to spend a lot less time debugging code and a lot more time just building things. And then from a user perspective, the first thing that I always do whenever I install any theme is I jump in and make CSS customizations to make it exactly the way I actually want it. And so I'm looking forward to being able to just do that straight in Gutenberg and adjust all of the little design tweaks that I would normally make in a much less hacky way.
Well, thank you. That's a great end start of this. But now let's see what we're all talking about. And Cal, if you want to share your screen and walk us through what you brought us today, that would be really great.
Okay, great.
Right.
Let me get this started. All right, can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to give you a demo that shows how you can use an existing theme as a starting point to experiment with block-based themes. And this is great because it allows you to leverage some of the work that you've done already. So specifically the editor styles and the block styles for the front end that you've presumably already built into the theme. And as I mentioned earlier, the coolest part of this is that you can actually get pretty far into this without ever having to open a code editor. So this is a theme that my colleagues and I have been working on lately. It's called Seedlit, and the reason I'm using this for the demo is because it's really straightforward and I can more or less recreate this in 10 minutes or so. And so the other reason I chose this one is because code-wise, it is really pretty simple. Anyone who's built a theme lately will find all of these templates and the folders.
Can you enlarge your screen a bit? Because I think that's going to be hard to read.
Yeah, I can't really, but this is the only thing that it's going to be text-based, I think.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Okay, but anyway, it's just a really typical folder and template structure, all the normal PHP files that you would normally see. And so today, if you were to go ahead and open up the full site editor, which you do by going to Gutenberg Experiments and then hitting Enable Full Site Editing. It's a little disappointing when you view the website because all you see is this no matching template found. And as someone who spent a whole lot of time building that theme, I see this and the first thing I think is like, oh, well, I guess all that work that I did is useless now in this block-based theme world. But that's not really the case. You'll notice.
It's a little anticlimactic, yes.
It is. No, it really is. So the first thing that makes me feel a little bit better is that the error text here is actually using the same font that I've been using for the theme. So I can see that actually my styles are being loaded here, and that's really reassuring. So it's not that it's not loading anything, it's just that I'm missing a template, and that's something that I can fix, and that's something I can actually fix without even needing to write any code. So the first thing that I'm going to do here is a little bit of a weird way to get started, and it's a temporary one. As I think most of us are fully aware, full site editing is very much a work in progress. And so I'll be doing just a couple things that are probably going to seem a little weird workaroundy, but those are temporary. So the first thing I'm going to do is the full site editor within Gutenberg right now does not have a great way to make a brand new template from scratch. And it's going to be way easier for me to demo this if I can just do that for you. So the way to get around that right now for me is in my theme structure, I'm just going to create a new folder called block templates. And then I'm just going to place a completely empty HTML file into it called index.html. And this is the first block template that I'm going to add. The block templates all use the standard template hierarchy that we're used to in WordPress. So index.html corresponds to index.php. And similarly, if I created a page.html, it would correspond to page.php and would automatically load on a page as that template. So for the demo, I'm just going to do an index.php or index.html in this case. So once I have that in there, I'm going to go ahead and open up the site editor. And now you'll see it automatically loads this index template, and it is completely empty, just as I promised it would be. And so now I have the site editor working, and really what I want to do is build what this used to look like when it was a non-block-based theme. So the first thing I need to do is build a header. I'm going to start out with a template part, and that is really just a reusable piece that I'm going to put on other templates that I create later. So I'm going to call it header, and I'm going to use the theme name here as the theme. Now I have a container that I can use to start building the header. The first thing I like to do whenever I have a new template part is I start out by adding a group block to it. The reason I do that is because a template part does not, by default, have any sort of wrapper around it. And I need a wrapper around my header. And I'm not going to do this right now, but if I did go into a code editor, you can actually add an extra attribute to the group block to specify the HTML element type that you want the group block to be. So normally it's a div, but you can actually specify that it be a header or a section or a main or a footer or whatever you need it to be. So that will help you make a lot more of a semantic block-based theme. So I'm going to add this group block and a couple shortcuts that I'm going to do so that I can leverage some of my existing theme styles. The first is the normal wrapper around my site header is called a site header. So I'm going to enter the site header class name for this so that when it loads on the front end, it automatically grabs some of the margin that I've built for my site header so I can make it look like it used to in the non-block-based theme version. And the second thing is a little bit more of a hack. As you'll see here, the group block does not currently have the alignment controls that it normally does in the post and page editor. And I want this to be full width, so I'm going to hack around that just by writing align full as the class here. And now I just really need to populate this. So looking back at what this used to look like when it was not block-based, I've got a site logo, site title, site description, and then the menu below that. So I'm going to just start going ahead and building that. And this should be really familiar to anyone who's used Gutenberg. I'm going to start by adding an image here. There is no site logo block, so I'm just going to use an image for today. I'll align it center, and I can add a link to it if I want to, but I'm going to skip that for time. And I can also make it the same size that it is on the front of the website normally. So below that, I want to add the site title, which is conveniently a block. So I will add site title, and that is all set there. You'll notice that this is picking up some of the styles that it already has on the front end. And that is one thing that I was doing when I built this theme originally was when I wrote the site title class, I also made sure to just load that style into the editor styles as well, just the standard editor styles, which are automatically picked up here in the full site editor. And then below that, I need the site description. And that is also not a block that's merged yet, so I'm just going to type that into a paragraph. And I will center align it, and then use the preset text size that I've defined, which is the same as it is on the front end. And the last piece of the header is just the menu. So there's a navigation block, and I'm going to use that. And I can actually just choose to start by using the same menu that the site was using before when it was not block-based. So I'll just hit that, create, and then I just need to justify those center so that they're all lined up. And so there we go. Now I have a reproduction of the header. So I will go and give this a look on the front end. So now here is my recreated fully block-based page header, and here is the original version. So it's not 100% the same, but it's pretty close for something that I spent just a couple of minutes on.
Yay.
And then the only thing I need to do now is just do the rest of the page. So looking at what we used to have here, it was just the stream of posts, one after another. And this is also incredibly simple to start making. So in the area below this reusable page header, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a new block. I'm going to start with a group again. And I'm going to call this the site content so that it'll pick up some of those same styles that I usually use for my site content wrapper on the front end. And again, I'm going to do that super weird align full hack, which hopefully soon I won't need to do. But the next thing and the last thing I need to do to recreate this page is just add a single block, and that is the query loop block. And anyone who's built a theme is likely familiar with the query. That is what makes the whole thing work, really. And so here we go. I just added that, and now I have a stream of all of these posts. So I can just go ahead and save and reload here. And now I have my fully block-based version of the homepage, and it is pretty similar to what I used to have before. And I did all that without touching any code, which is a lot of fun. And because it's all block-based, I can rearrange things and save it, and then it will just do that on the front end, which is the whole point of why we're doing this whole block-based theme thing. It's just really simple and lets you edit exactly what you're seeing. So the last thing I'm going to show today is from the perspective of a theme author, like, what do I do with this now? And so all of these changes that I've done here aren't overwriting anything in the theme. These are all changes that I'm making just to this single website. But as a theme author, I've recreated this template, and now I want it to be so that if somebody were to download my theme and they activated the full site editing experiment, I want them to see these templates right away instead of seeing the no template available sad message. And so installing these templates into your theme from here is actually super easy. In the ellipses menu in the upper right, there is an export button. And when you click that, what it does is it downloads a zip file of all of these templates that you've just created. So within here, there's the header template part and the index template part. And all I need to do is delete the block templates the block template that I created before, which is just completely empty. And then just drag these two new folders with the two new files into my theme. And now, if anyone were to install this theme, if they did not have the block editor experiment turned on, they would see just a regular typical WordPress site, and they'd be able to use that just like they normally would. But if they were to activate the full site editor experiment, then they would start out with the new block-based theme version of their site, and they would be able to work with those exact same templates that I just created. And that's that.
That's pretty amazing. Yeah. So we have a, so are there any questions from the, from you, Carolina or Eileen, for Kea?
No, I'm still always amazed and fascinated how fast the editor updates, the site editor. So we had some bugs, and then they added the solution for those bugs, and now we have a working exporter, and that's just a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So that's really amazing, and it's fun to see the progress.
Yeah, it's really amazing. When we have a video on the YouTube channel when Enrique Piqueros demonstrated the first set of it, and it was really, he kind of glanced over a few things, but it was not as fluid as this was, yeah. So, and as expected, we have already our first set of questions. So Steve Musial had the question, will block templates be able to use Twig? Twig is, you know what Twig is, yeah.
Yeah, so the actual markup for block templates right now is still something that is being figured out. The question has recently come up around how does dynamic content work within these templates? Because right now, as you saw in my demo, it's just HTML, which isn't really going to work that way. So there have been discussions around exactly how those templates are going to be formatted, and it's still subject to change. But what we've been talking about lately is relying on some of the same PHP that we've had for years in WordPress, so we don't completely, rewrite everything. So I don't know about Twig specifically, but I do know that the exact markup we're using is still under discussion.
Well, thank you. And then an anonymous attendee had a reference to a video where some people make a comments that there is a lot of unnecessary code in the block editor. Is this something that the Gutenberg team is looking to improve on over the next year? Kind of, it's a little bit past the theme, but it's just a block editor. Do you have an answer? Who wants to grab that?
Oh, I'd like to know, I guess, what they're seeing as unnecessary code, not knowing what exactly you're looking at. It's kind of hard to be able to comment directly.
Yeah, it's more about the post content with all the comments in there, and I think that's how it it's not that's how Gutenberg just works. Yeah, so there is no you don't need to clean that up in your database. You have other means to grab the content that's now much more structured than before. Yeah, before it was actually a mess. Now it's actually much cleaner because it's so structured in blocks. So Nathan has the question, how well does this incorporate with SEO engine? Nobody knows yet, right?
Yeah, that's something that we need to figure out.
Yeah, so I think it needs to make clear though, full site editing is not about to be released tomorrow. Yeah, it's going to be, it's a lot of ways still to come. And the target date is December 2020. And until then, there's a lot of things in motion. And there is a full site editing outreach experiment going on. We can post the link later in the YouTube video description and on the show notes, but you can always sign up for that. There's a separate channel, and there are some testing where site builders test the full site editing if it fits the workflow flow or what's not working, kind of thing. Yeah. So and that's definitely a question that will come up in November, but I think it's way too early to do this now. Yeah. And then on YouTube, Nahui, I guess we answered the question about the dynamic pages. That's still in the works, and but some of it is actually with the posts. Yeah, the query block is dynamic content. There are also the widget. Some of the widget blocks are dynamic content. Can you change? But here's the question: can you change the parameters for the query block?
I think not yet. I'm not 100% sure, but I believe that currently you cannot, but I'm pretty sure there are PRs open that will allow you to, and you certainly will be able to when this launches.
Okay. And then we have von Shaima Moharia. I'm sorry, I'm butchering your name there. How is the navigation block processing? Can you tell us a little bit more about how well this block would work in a large content website with many subcategories or subtopics? I'm interested in how we can use it to help our users get the information they are looking for as quickly as possible.
Well, I can try. The goal was to have the navigation block in 5.5, and as I understand it, that's not going to happen. But I think one of the reasons behind that was because the navigation block will mostly be used with full site editing, because the current menu system is not going to work with full site editing, but it works fine now. The big benefit that Cal showed you is that you can now select existing menus. So my suggestion would be to make a copy of your site and test it. Yeah. If something breaks, then something is not working as it's meant to be. So your feedback would be very helpful. I also recommend to test the new navigation screen that is experimental. There are currently 2 different ways to create new menus and edit menus where you move the elements around. I don't know if that answers your question, but it's something that you can take with you.
Yeah, and well, if you have the plugin installed, you can test it. And I have used the navigation block, even if I'm not opening up the navigation screen, as a sub-navigation for larger pages. So that it worked fine. But of course, when you have a lot of subcategories, and so yeah, you definitely want to test that, like everything in the new thing, in the new versions. So Thomas Higginbotham writes, I noticed you still had to specify a theme when using the full page block editor. Are there any plans to allow the use of the editor without any theme, or will a theme always be required? Aline, you want to take that?
I don't know of any PRs or anything that are at the moment that are in there issue-wise. I'm not sure if you guys know anything, but I'm not aware of something that would allow us to do that. I think at this point, there's always going to be something like a theme. It might be, very scaled back and minimal as you work to build, and that's what I've been using in my testing. I have very, very minimal like starter theme that I work with, just so that I can see everything better, and I'm not fighting against classes or something that already exists. So I think there's going to be something there, but maybe it's not what we are used to seeing.
Yeah, Matthias Ventura, who's one of the architects on the Gutenberg project, he had on his personal blog, and I will have the link in the show notes, he talked about that the theme metaphor won't change with the block editor. There will always be something in there with that's called a theme. It will have the same hierarchy as it has now. Maybe just the extension changes, and even that is not sure yet. They are from HTML to PHP and back. But there will always be a theme there, because you need to style things, right? And somewhere it needs to be. Yeah. So William Patton is here. Hi to Scotland. William said, I know that the demo focused on how this can be done without code, but what about those like myself that want to do it with code? How do you get a block into your theme page?
Yeah, so in fact, I would probably, after doing this demo, my next step probably would be to jump into the code editor and edit what I started creating in Gutenberg. And that's really the easiest way to do it, unless you've completely memorized the way Gutenberg does markup. But that really, Gutenberg will provide a really good base that you can start building on. And you know, I would do things like changing the HTML element for that group block and fine tuning things just straight up in the markup.
Yeah, I saw some experiments from other people on the team that just had the file and then put the block code that they copy pasted from the content over into their various areas of the theme. Yeah, that's, you don't even need to know a whole lot of code. So Mel Joyce, waving to Joyce, so what kind of themes would y'all like to see more in the in WordPress in the future? Yeah, sky's the limit, right?
Definitely. I know the team is there's a call out now for experimental themes, right? Carolina, you wrote that up.
Yeah.
And you're looking for very targeted, like niche type things. So when I work with people in the community, it's, I think end users can benefit from having a theme that has a lot of what they're already looking for there, so they don't have to have too much, you know, they don't have to think too much about all the extra stuff. So maybe things that are directed toward real estate agents or restaurants or specific niche groups, markets that would really be helpful, podcasting themes or something like that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I look at a lot of themes every week, and come on, they're identical. We need definitely much more variation.
Yeah.
And of course, I mean, identical code makes it easier for me, who reviews the actual code, looks at it, and look for security issues and everything. But I mean, it's boring. We need more niche themes, we need more colorful teams, we need teams that maybe does not have a header menu and main content. Maybe things should move around a little bit, some different shapes. Yeah, something, you know, exciting and fun. Or perhaps, again, just, you know, a wedding team, a dog walking team, something that helps people right now, like COVID, you know, help people with transportation or going shopping, you know, something like targeted small niches and markets like that. And I mean, an e-commerce team, yes, you can build an e-commerce team to cover everything. But I mean, a shop is not going to be selling everything. They're going to be selling like 10 products, maybe. So it can be definitely be a lot more niche than it is right now.
Yeah, I think from my perspective, we need two very different kinds of themes right now. We need some very simple themes that are super clean and very easy to use and just work and will work for a lot of different sites. And then on the other end, we need just weird, fun themes that, you know, are beautiful design-wise and show, you know, that WordPress is a medium for expressing excellent design and art and experimentation. So I think we need both of those things at the same time, really. So I always am really drawn to both of those, I guess.
Oh, very enlightening. Thank you. Yeah. So Lee Shaddle has the question, where would the global styles fit into the full site editing? Yeah, that's a good question. The global styles have not yet been moved forward, or there are quite a few things being done.
Yeah.
But what would answer that?
So a lot of the global styles work that has been happening to date has been sort of behind the scenes structural work. And so the way that global styles would fit into, for example, what I showed in my demo is after I created these basic templates, I would go ahead and start converting some of the site's styles into values in an experimental theme.json file. And what global styles will do with that is when you supply that file, it'll automatically generate a set of CSS variables that you can then use in your theme. And eventually, once the UI is built for it, people will be able to just edit all of those variables in real time in the full site editor. And you can do that first part today. You can make an experimental theme.json file, and you can start populating it with values. There's documentation about that already. And experiments in the GitHub/WordPress/theme experiments repository. I would urge everyone to check that out and contribute there if you do play around with any of this. So you can see examples in there, and Gutenberg will take those and generate the CSS variables, and you can start playing with them today.
Wouldn't that also require that the variables are kind of also in the PHP code or in the theme template code?
Just in your CSS file for now, yeah.
All right. Yeah. I hope that answers your question, Lee. Akshaya Rain has, please advise what should be starting steps if one wants to try building block-based theme? I think you mentioned it already. Yeah, but Carolina has a course on that. Yeah, would you get you up and running from very basic to a full site editing theme? So what are the starting points?
Actually, the starting point, I would just start in the standard block editor. And it's a change of mindset. It's not, I mean, the technical aspects are not going to be the difficult. The mindset, the new way to build themes is going to be the big thing, yeah? So start with the block editor and just, picture your different elements and add them in different places, move them around, change some styles. And I mean, use it as a full page, not just like a post content. And start from there. Then you can copy the content from the code editor and use that in your HTML templates if you like.
All right. Yeah, sounds good. Easy enough.
So I think what's important to note there is because so much of Gutenberg with building blocks, there's been a huge learning curve, I think, for lots of people in the community. And with full site editing, that's not here. Like there's not a lot of tooling that we have to get into. You can very quickly, either in a local development environment using MAMP or local or whatever you like to use, you can get up and running quickly and start testing this out. There isn't that barrier of entry of installing Webpack and Node and all of that stuff that drives me pretty much batty.
You and a million other people, but
right.
That's good to know, and thank you for making that point. So Bridget Vessel has the question, will you be able to lock parts of the site editor to control what clients and editor can change in the header and footer parts of the site? Or Nathan added disable for the client completely after it's built? Wants to take it? Eileen?
Well, I hope so.
Oh yeah, or Carolina? Yeah,
so.
we all hope so.
I don't know. I mean, we need it. We definitely need it, but I don't know if there's anything being worked on right now. I don't know if there's any open GitHub issues for it. So probably later. Yeah.
Yeah, there is an open issue for it. And this is a very common request. Anytime I talk to theme developers, this is one of the first questions. So yeah, there is an open issue for it. And it's something that is definitely being talked about.
So I know right now we can do that within PHP. If we create page templates, that can be locked in PHP and in JavaScript. If you build a block template, or what people call nested blocks, that can be done right now. But that was something I was wondering myself this week as I was playing around with things, because you can build the templates, the template parts that you're using in the full site editor, but you can also delete everything once you build it, which is nice when you're experimenting, but not so great if you need to hand it off to a client. So that's definitely something that I think everybody is on their wish list.
Yeah, brings a big, bold oops when you delete it all. I think that was also a big point that Matthias made in his blog post, that just because we build the tools right now doesn't mean that you need to hand this over to clients. Yeah, it's for site builders, that implementers, that's for those who do this for other people and then can easily design things and then hand it over. Yeah, that's definitely part of the roadmap as well. Yeah. So Steve has another question, and well, you're welcome, Bridget. So Steve has another question. So how does one get the new menu admin? Is that included in the full site editing plugin?
So that's under when you install Gutenberg, and then you go into the experiments panel. You can add the navigation screen, and it also gives you access to the navigation block. So you can run Gutenberg in a production site and still use the navigation block. I think you said you were using it to build essentially a table of contents type of thing for pages. So that's how you would use that piece right now.
Yeah, I think just to clarify, the navigation screen where you do menu things, that's still experimental, but the navigation block has been in Gutenberg plugin for I would say 10 or so versions already, and has gotten better. It's just didn't, as Carolina said at the beginning, it hasn't been merged into core yet because there is no site editing. And for a lot of users, it confuses them. Why would they do a navigation block when they cannot change the navigation on that? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and then Nilambra Sharma has, with full site editing, what will happen to the customizer? Will it be deprecated, or will full site editing be integrated with the customizer? Same with the widgets. Steve added. Who knows who wants to talk about it?
I can do that. So I don't know the answer to that, and I don't think anyone does just yet. I know this has been said many times, but WordPress is not typically very good at appreciating things. So it's likely that we'll have the customizer for a long time. But I do think that a lot of what the customizer does is going to be taken care of by full site editing and global styles. And so I don't know how exactly that'll work. If, when you're building a theme, you'll build in customizer stuff and separate global style stuff, or if Gutenberg will handle translating that from one area to another, or what. But I do think we're going to have both for at least a little while.
So were any of you in the joint meeting between Customizer and the Gutenberg team?
Yeah, I was there, but actually I wasn't clear on the answer to this question.
Yeah,
I don't think anyone really knows yet.
Yeah, and I think the only outcome that was there was who is tracking backwards compatibility, who has that on the plate, and it seems that the customizer team is going to take that on to make sure that full site editing and customizer are coexisting for a long time, because I can see that the full site editing, I don't know how you feel about it, but I see the full site editing coming into core maybe in December, but I don't think that there are a whole lot of theme developers jump on it yet. until it has the second and third iteration of it. Yeah, even the users, they don't want to change the theme, and they don't have to. Just because it's available doesn't have to use it. Yeah, so I think that will still stay around for a while. I'm not quite sure, Steve, what you think about the widgets. So the widget areas. So he tapped on that question about the customizer. So what's happening with widgets? Widgets have already translated. Most of them have been translated to blocks. And if you give them an area in your theme, then you can place them there, right? Or do I see this wrong? All right. Don't beat me up all the time here.
Maybe I'm not correct, but I think that you will be able to place blocks inside existing widget areas. Isn't that
Yeah,
one
there
of
is
the projects that they're working on?
in the plugin. There is an experiment to turn on the widget screen, which will allow you to place blocks within widget areas.
So it's kind of middle way.
Yeah.
So yeah, on the
Exactly.
topic of the customizer,
Mm-hmm.
I'm already seeing a little bit difficulties or questions and support requests. When we start adding font styles, for example, inside the editor, and you have a global setting, or maybe you have a, settings for the site title, font size, or for the, the body content or widget titles, and then you start changing things in the editor, and the theme author needs to know, okay, which style am I actually going to be using? And that doesn't always work because, for example, if you're doing free themes, there's always a chance that your team is going to be out of date because there's not enough time to keep everything up to date. So the support requests about these duplicate styles are definitely increasing.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah. All right. So, well, yeah, we don't have any more questions, neither on the YouTube nor on the Zoom space. Is everybody kind of, yeah, that's highly unusual, but it's actually on the time. The time is really right. So I have two more questions for our panelists. So, but I'm glad that we got all the questions out of the way. They were good ones, and I learned a lot from you three. And thank you so much for being there. I have two more questions coming. So do you have any announcements that you couldn't get in before or want the people keep in mind? And the second one is if people want to get in touch with you, what would be the best way? So who wants to start? Kale? Oops.
Sure. Yeah, so I guess the last thing I'd like to say is just that I would urge everyone to experiment with this stuff. Try building a block-based theme. Try, as Carolina mentioned, just using these blocks in just the normal post and page editor, even to just start building a full site there and see how it feels and see what the missing pieces are. And file issues in the GitHub repository. I know, especially for people who have never filed an issue before, it can seem a little weird, but try it. There's a wonderful WordPress community, as I know all of you are aware. So yeah, try this out. Visit the Theme Experiments repository that I mentioned before. I'm sure we'll include a link to that to try out some of the work that contributors have already begun and contribute there too. And then in terms of getting in touch with me, I'm on the WordPress.org Slack, and so feel free to reach out to me there, or on Twitter. I'm just at KjellR, KJELLR.
All right, and just for Kale also wrote back in March a post on the themeshaper.com exploring the global styles. Of course, it has a little bit progressed since then, but it's definitely great reading if you are really interested in that part of theme development. I posted here as well, and in a moment also on YouTube. So Carolina, anything that you want people to know that you didn't get the word in yet?
No, we didn't talk anything about block patterns. So if you want to start small and you don't want to wait until December, I suggest going to WordPress.org and read documentation for block patterns. So block patterns they're basically just different blocks, different styles grouped together, and you can drag them from the block selector or the pattern selector and put them in your post content. They can be big or small, and it's basically an early version of template parts. You can call it that. Yeah. So you can put those together and play with them.
Good point.
And they're much easier to create than custom blocks, so much easier. I'm also on the WordPress Slack. I'm going to have to type out my nickname, Poena, and also on Twitter at Carolina Poena.
Poena is, and yeah, the Twitter we do later. All right. I also wanted to reiterate that Carolina has put a full site editing course together that's now available for free on fullsiteediting.com. And she also has some few blog posts about some knowledge. And yeah, thank you very much for sharing all your knowledge that prominently. And in contrast to other courses that I've seen, she actually doesn't assume any prior knowledge, which is really cool. Well, some, but yeah. But then you have also very good resources there. So fullsiteediting.com. That's a brilliant domain name. Eileen.
So I think my final takeaway is, as you're experimenting, ask questions. So either in WordPress Slack in the full site editing experiments channel, or reach out in Twitter. I'm at It's Just Eileen in WordPress Slack, in Twitter, and in GitHub. Definitely log issues, but just ask questions. Say, this is what I'm seeing, and are you seeing the same thing? Because that's what I've been running into, wondering as I've been experimenting, am I just doing it wrong? And so it's really great to be able to ask the rest of the community, are you having the same experience?
Yeah, and I just want to point out to our audience that Eileen's talk at WordCamp Kent was just published on WordPress TV, and it's all about the future of themes, and it gets you through the low level to the high level, up and down the code and the ideas. So if you need a primer on that, that's definitely a great video to watch. Wonderful. You all, thank you all for coming. I'm in awe in your expertise, and I feel blessed that we could do the show together. Thank you so much. Big thank you also to the viewers, to all your questions. They were so helpful, I think, to anybody who's going to watch this later on. If you have any more questions, you can all send them via email to Pauli, P-A-U-L-I, @gutenbergtimes.com. The recording is available in about a few minutes at the YouTube channel, and we will post some of the links in the description of the video, so you don't have to wait until we have the transcript and I get around to post it all on the Gutenberg Times. That's it. That's goodbye and good luck from me. And we do all a big wave. Goodbye and thanks, everybody. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.